welcome back to the Project Gen X podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Alan Smith, along with...
I'm the other guy, Big Dave.
And I'm Barry.
And this episode, Barry, tell us what we're doing.
Okay, so this was one that I've been kicking around for a while, and it's going to be a very Nashville-centric one. I give you kind of a fair warning now.
But to be on, before you get into it, it is very Nashville-centric, but everybody...
No wrestling.
Everybody has this... Everybody has this
a version of this
for their town, basically.
And just to kind of segue right into the Discord,
right at
the end of it, if you have ones from your town that you'd like to send over to us,
absolutely,
we'd love to hear about them. But what this is as it's pretty well determined, being Gen X, we are all of a certain age, and growing up in that time,
it's a nice way of saying we're old.
You like that? You like that?
Yeah. Screw you guys.
There are specific locations,
that's
venues,
right.
if you will.
When this goes live, Dave will be 49.
That's true. But there are specific locations or venues, if you will, that were always held a very special place for music venues.
Absolutely.
And a
lot of them are no longer here.
Yeah, some of them are now parking lots, and some of them are still
hotels,
around, or converted into other things. But specifically in Nashville, because we are Music City, there are a ton of music venues.
Yeah.
But let's just say there wasn't exactly the biggest selection of music venues at the time.
No.
For anything other than country.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Like, even before Broadway became what Broadway is now, it was still very...
See, when I moved to town...
Well, Broadway has always been very touristy.
No. When
not like it is now.
When I moved to town, it was all porn shops.
Yep.
Yes, it was that. But the thing is that all the honky tonks and the places that had music were all country music.
Yes,
like you would not go down on Broadway and find any rock music.
Well, Broadway, Second Avenue, anywhere around.
Well, Second Avenue didn't. There was nothing on Second except for the Spaghetti Factory. That was about it.
Yeah,
and Mayor Bulls.
Yeah,
those are the only two.
The underground
restaurant.
The underground.
That was later though.
Yeah.
That but I'm talking about you're talking about when you first moved here. You know? The underground opened in 92?
It was
91, 92,
early 90s.
Somewhere around in there. Yeah.
I thought it was late, sooner than that.
No. It was when I was in college, when I first went to college in 93, was when everybody was really talking about the underground. It had been around for a little bit at that point, but not long. So.
Right. But these are specific ones, not just necessarily dance clubs or anything like that, but more music venues, more places that you could go and see these bands that you absolutely love, or see bands that you've never heard of, but hey, it's a free ticket, or
Hey, the local rock scene in Nashville when I moved to town was
pretty good.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, and the nice thing is you had bands that were coming in that were, we'll say, second tier.
Well, you had a lot of regional stuff,
right?
You had that southern circuit of college towns
here. Well, not only that, but you have, of course, you had the Athens scene that was still pumping out a lot, and even around that, because even though Driving and Crying wasn't from Athens, they were in that coming from that area. You had Birmingham. That's what you had
Texas.
But like I said in the early 90s, you had Slick Lily and Brother Kane came out of there, and there was another band too that I forget who it was that came out of there. And then of course you had Memphis. You had had stuff coming out of Lexington.
Well, you
had stuff coming out of Bowling Green a little bit.
Bowling Green, Cincinnati.
Yeah,
Columbus.
Asheville.
Asheville.
And you still had some that were native.
Absolutely,
you had a couple of bands that were.
And then of course Murfreesboro. It's big. Which for those of you who don't know is southeast of Nashville. It's a college town. It's
Middle Tennessee State University.
It's actually the largest four-year school in Tennessee now.
Yep.
They've outpaced UT,
Yep.
Knoxville.
Yeah, and then of course you'd have bands out of Knoxville every once in a while. Right. It's just one of those things. Chattanooga. There were a few things came out of Chattanooga.
Yep.
And we would get stuff from St. Louis, because all of this stuff is basically within. 6 hours.
Plus, we have three interstates that converge.
Absolutely,
here, so that made it easy. To
sometimes
get
you would get stuff. Sometimes you would get stuff out of Little Rock.
Yeah,
it is.
A lot of times they would play here simply because they were passing through.
Right, going to somewhere else. Atlanta, of course, is only 4 hours away.
And it is kind of surreal to know that some of the bands that have played in some of the locations here that you just would never really associate with Nashville.
No,
right. But just started kicking around a list of some of the more iconic iconic locations in Nashville to go hear a band or go hear a performer, and really spoke to that time frame in that era.
Right.
And I'll start it off on this one because I'm going to start off with my favorite one. One of the few that's still in existence.
Okay.
It's not nearly the behemoth that it once was. Mm-hmm. The Nashville Municipal Auditorium.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
For the longest time, Municipal Auditorium was the only place to see bands play until they opened Starwood Amphitheater in 87,
86, I think it was.
86, 87, somewhere around there. But that was outside of town.
Right.
Like, this was the only thing downtown big enough.
And
this is literally, like, the Municipal Auditorium, like, the Stones played there in 72.
Elvis.
Yeah.
Elvis.
The
My
Jackson
mom saw
5.
Elvis. The Jacksons played there. AC/DC, Black Sabbath. Van Halen played there.
Yes.
It was all the auditorium where all the bands would come to play inside.
And it was the worst place to see bands play because it was an echo chamber.
Yeah.
I mean, it just... Because it wasn't built for...
No, it was built for sports.
Right. And that's where, like, we talked about before. We had minor league hockey teams.
It was a
played
giant
there.
circle is what it was.
The biggest thing that was for Municipal Auditorium, I'm sorry, Dave, it was a huge wrestling venue.
Yeah, there was that.
Starrcade after Starrcade was
not only
there.
that, but also rodeo.
Yeah.
I saw the rodeo there God knows how many times.
But
every time the circus came to town.
The Shriner Circus was there every year.
Yeah.
I know.
So for those
Ringling Brothers was there.
For those of you that aren't familiar with it, this Nashville Municipal Auditorium is in the middle of downtown Nashville.
Yes.
It's a sub 10,000 seat location, just under 10,000. It's been around since the 70s. I think it was.
Yeah. Early, like I said, the Stones played there in the 72 tour. So I think
it was the biggest venue in downtown Nashville for the longest time.
I saw my first concert there.
Yeah, same here.
The first big concert I saw after moving to Nashville was there, and that was Suicidal Tendencies opening up for Queensryche doing the double Minds Crime / Empire tour.
And I can say that one of the few times, just to kind of touch
take
base,
a drink.
I know Dave's going to punch me in the arm for this, but I know that was one of the few and only times that ECW ever came to Nashville. They performed at the Municipal Auditorium, and I got a chance to see them there. But it's still in operation.
It's still there.
It's nowhere near the behemoth that it was.
Do they still do... Now, one of the cool things they did there is that they've got was it the Nashville Musician Hall of Fame?
Yes, the Musicians and Songwriters Hall of Fame.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to go through it.
I haven't either.
I remember going to the basement, but that's because they used to do those huge, giant
sales.
Sales.
Oh yeah. They would also do the gun shows and stuff down there.
I can't tell you how many car stereos,
Bill Goodman's
speakers,
Gun and Knife Show.
Yes,
until it got moved to the fairgrounds, which is now a soccer stadium.
Yeah. But keep in mind, folks, this is a building that was built that long ago, and it's basically a giant concrete circle.
Yes, and they have done renovations on it.
But still, the sound quality in that thing.
Oh, it was terrible.
Horrible.
Everybody used to call it miserable.
Yep.
Yeah, it was the miserable auditorium.
Because it's just a giant echo chamber.
It is.
But you didn't care. You went in there. It smelled like old beer.
It smelled like old beer and cigarettes and pot.
Yep.
And
basically it smelled like the 70s.
Yeah, pretty much. And
that was a concert that I realized I really should be wearing earplugs when I go to concerts because I could not hear for 3 days after that concert.
The very first concert I went to, I couldn't. ZZ Top and the Black Crowes in 1991.
Nice.
And I could not hear like for 3 days. It was like buzzing in my ears. And it was like that because a lot of it was being young, even though even at that point there was a lot of emphasis being put on
ear protection.
Ear protection.
Oh yeah.
But you're still young and you just like, whatever, I'll go, blah, blah, blah. And so, that was always the thing. I would go to a show and not be able to hear for 3 days afterwards. Yes, I have my concert.
I was about to say, for those of you who can't see this.
So
I looked for mine. I could not find it.
I have ticket stubs for most every show I've ever seen. A few of them have gone missing, or I saw something that didn't have tickets.
Right.
One of the two. But I have my January 7th, which is funny. That was my mom's birthday. 1991, ZZ Top.
Nice.
Nice.
But yeah, 328 Performance Hall is always, like I said, it's still there. It's still in operation. They do still do music shows well as wrestling and cardio and stuff like that. There.
In 2003, they started doing something that was kind of cool there.
What's that?
Where they started doing smaller shows, and basically what they would do is that they would set the stage up over close to the riser, like one set of the risers, and they'd put a curtain up behind it.
Yeah.
To where it was like, and we were talking about like 1,000-seat show, maybe right. It might even be less than that. Actually had much better sound
on the floor.
There.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but I saw Third Eye Blind there play like that.
Jodeci played there not too long ago.
Yeah.
And
there's still all kinds of stuff that come through there,
Wait, we're still talking about Municipal? You said 328 Performance.
I'm sorry. Municipal is definitely.
We haven't got to 328.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get to 328.
You said 328, and that's the reason I looked at you funny. I was like, I didn't think we had gone to 328.
No, not yet.
Okay, so let me go through a little bit of so ZZ Top was in January 91.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Skid Row with special guest Soundgarden. February 4th, 1992.
Wow, they hadn't been out long.
Yeah. I saw the Pink Floyd Led Zeppelin Laser Light Show.
Nice.
In March of 92.
I wanted to go to that.
I saw Bryan Adams in April of 92. These are all at Municipal.
Free tickets, right?
No, actually. That was my prom night.
Oh, that explains.
We went to that instead of going to okay. Bon Jovi in March of 93. That was the Keep the Faith tour. Oh, I forgot. Bad Company.
Nice.
In November of 92.
All right.
Nope.
Hit us with two more.
Well, I'm trying to find, because the thing is I've got so many of these, and I really didn't go to. I went and saw Bryan Adams again in May of 94 there. Pantera in January of 95.
You saw Pantera in Municipal Auditorium?
Typo Negative opened.
Awesome.
How did you live through that?
Well,
how do you still have hearing?
Well,
dude, couple of things. I was at that Starwood show.
Oh yeah.
Couple of things. We had seats rather than actually like general admission floor, but we were down close to the boards, and so midway through Pantera's set, I just jumped over the boards and went down in the thing, and I was like, I'm gonna go get in the mosh pit. And I jumped in the mosh pit and realized that I was about a foot shorter than everybody else in there, and was also outweighed by a good 50-60 pounds by everybody else.
Sounds about right.
And I got killed for about 5 minutes, and I was like, I'm going back to my seat.
But yes,
I was at that Pantera show at Starwood, and I was afraid.
Yeah.
I'm 6'2", 350 pounds at that point. No. Maybe 275.
Right.
And I was afraid. That was the show where they were ripping seats out and throwing
them. Oh, God,
that's crazy. I saw Megadeth there.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. If you do get a chance to visit Nashville and decide to go by the Municipal,
Bob Seger.
There's something very, very cool about Municipal Auditorium, right, that they've done on the redesign. On the outside of it, there is a collection of ticket stubs that have shown some of the shows that have played there.
Yeah.
And you could literally spend hours just walking around going, oh my God, they played here? This is so, this one too? Oh, it's great. And just to see that, once you get in the building, you're going to go, you mean to tell me these guys played in this hole? But yes, that was where you went. That was the big place to go.
Looking at this, I don't have a whole lot of Municipal, like especially after what I said, but I have two more, and I want that I know for sure.
All right,
because they happened very close together.
Okay, what do you got?
And you guys are going to appreciate both of them, actually.
Okay.
Where is the first one? I got three of them. I saw Soundgarden again in '96 in November.
Okay.
Reverend Horton Heat opened for them.
That's a band that I want to see, and I haven't been able to see.
That was pretty fun. No, I take that back. It wasn't Reverend Horton Heat. It was Rocket from the Crypt opened for them.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
But here we go. December 27th, 1996. It's 2 days after Christmas.
Yes.
I saw Marilyn Manson play there.
Good Lord.
The Antichrist Superstar Tour.
Jeez.
And 2 days after that, December 29th, it was a Sunday evening, I saw Starcade 96.
I see. Starcade, that was where they hosted it.
And that was Piper Hogan. Yeah.
What was the one? It was one of the first Starcades that was it Flair Steamboat? The big one that happened there? I can't remember.
No. You're thinking about Music City Mayhem that happened. It was like years. That was in like 89, 8 or 9. Yeah, that wasn't Starcade. But yeah, that was when Terry Funk turned heel on.
See, we're back to wrestling. I keep trying to tell you guys this is not the Travis Reed show.
All right. I'm sorry.
Anyway,
Dave. You can't talk about Municipal and not talk about that.
I have seen other stuff, but those are. It's funny looking at the book now because I'm seeing a lot more Starwood and 328 Performance Hall and places like that. So, and then Bridgestone originally.
Right.
Yeah.
But since you were talking about that feature outside of Municipal Auditorium, there's another venue in town that has done something similar.
Okay, what you got, Dave?
It's done on the wall behind the bar. And that is
Exit In?
Exit In.
Yes.
So not just behind the bar, it's in the front of the building, too.
Yeah.
Yes, it's on the outside.
So Exit In. One of my favorite places just for the lore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Jimmy Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett was the first person to play at Exit In and was booed off the stage.
Basically, Jimmy Buffett perfected his whatever it is that he does at there.
That's when
here in Nashville.
That's when he
in the early
transitioned
70s,
from country music to shrimp rock.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
However, a little bit of lore on this that I absolutely love. There was a movie, a Robert Altman movie called Nashville.
Yep.
A good portion of that movie was filmed in the Exit In.
Yes.
It wasn't open yet.
Oh, yeah.
So they've done interviews with some of the cast when they were talking about it, and they said, they could still smell the paint drying
that doesn't
in that place.
me.
But on the front of Exit In, right beside the entrance door, there's this black wall that has written on it all of these different artists that have played there. And literally
Johnny
it's everybody
Cash,
from Johnny Cash, the Ramones.
Yeah.
Well,
let's go to the other big one.
Okay.
From back in the 70s.
Right.
Someone who, again, perfected their craft at the Exit In. Mm-hmm. Steve Martin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Steve Martin, in his autobiography, wrote a lot about living in Nashville in the 70s and basically performing at the Exit In, perfecting his whole shtick and everything. So.
And I've seen anybody from Suzanne Vega to where it was just her and her bass player. I've seen Man or Astro Man there. I've seen...
We saw Nashville Pussy there, remember?
Yeah, we saw that band there.
It's a night I almost got kicked in the face and almost burned.
Yep. By the same person.
Yes.
Doesn't surprise me.
Corey Parks, she was the bass player for them.
I've seen...
She was... you remember Cherokee Parks? He was a basketball player back in the 90s. He played for Duke. He played for Duke.
Yeah.
It was it was his sister.
Oh, wow.
Was in this band. She was about, 6'4", 6'5", something like
that?
The
bass player?
Yeah, she was a bass player. She was about 6'4", 6'5", and was wearing cowboy boots. Dave and I were there. I don't know if you were with me or not.
Yeah.
I mean, we were there with me, but I'm talking about I went into the bathroom at one point, like before the show got started.
You had to go up.
You have to go up the stairs towards the back, towards the back
towards the
stage.
green room. Actually, you're almost on stage.
So I go in there and I'm sitting there and I'm peeing, and all of a sudden
You're sitting there and peeing?
No, I'm standing there.
You said
in
you were
there.
sitting there and peeing.
I'm standing there at the urinal peeing.
I want to know
all
now
of
that
a sudden,
Alan sits down to pee.
I was standing at the urinal peeing, and all of a sudden behind me, the door just like a boot kicks the door wide. This is the men's room. Mm-hmm. There's a men's room and a women's room here.
Yeah.
And Corey Parks comes walking in, and she's about something. I don't know what. I think she was arguing with her boyfriend or something. Or somebody. I don't know. And she comes in and goes into one of the stalls. Mm-hmm. And she's the entire time. I'm like, it might be time for me to get out of here. But yeah, we were stood down on the floor, like right in front of her.
Yeah.
And some guy behind me pissed her off somehow, and she tried to kick him at one point and missed my face by a couple of inches. And then when she was doing her whole fire breathing bit that she did in the middle of it, she came down off the stage going after the dude and blew the stuff right past my head.
Nice.
I mean, like just
almost lost an eyebrow.
Yeah, I mean, it literally was one of those things. I still had hair back, like I had long hair too, and it's one of those things that if that had hit my hair, it would all gone up.
Michael Jackson, Pepsi.
Yeah,
Pepsi
I know.
commercial.
Just like
I've also seen the Super Suckers there. You know,
I'm trying to think of who all I've seen.
I saw the New Amsterdams play there, which was really cool. I'm a big fan of theirs, so it's. I saw Nappy Roots.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that would have been a good show.
That was a good show. Kind of
nice.
They were good. The situation around
and the thing about Exit In is that the location has really kind of grown up around Exit In.
Call it what it is. It gentrified around the exit.
Well, not even just
it's
that.
college related. I mean,
not even just that, because at one time, literally, you had the Exit In, and then like Moscovich's was right next to
Moscow's.
you had the Ellington's Place Smoke Shop.
Ellison's Place
there.
Was there, and Sherlock Holmes Pub was right there next to it.
And of course, across the street was
Rock Block Guitar, and then you had
the Soda Shop.
The Soda Shop was
Ellington
there.
Place Soda Shop.
Of course, the Gold Rush was there. Had been
Sherlock
there
Holmes was one of my regular haunts.
Keep in mind,
Smack was right there, and but then eventually the End opened, which was also owned by the people that owned the
literally across the street from it.
down an alleyway, and I really love that.
That was a great. That's where we saw Famous Monsters with Sean Isselt.
Yep.
Well, and folks, for those of you that don't know where we're talking about, this area is about less than a mile from Vanderbilt.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's within walking distance from Vanderbilt University. So
literally, you walk a block up the hill to West End and across West End, and you're right there at Vandy.
So I mean, you had in Nashville, you have a lot of colleges that are really relatively close together.
Well,
so
we're referred to as the Athens of the South.
Exactly. So you had all of these colleges that college kids looking for some place to go see a show.
And Exit
In was the place to go.
And Elliston Place was also a place where a lot of college kids hung.
Right. Absolutely.
Just, I mean,
All right. What's yours, Alan? What's your next one?
My favorite place to see bands back in the 90s was turn it back. There you go. We're going to need more coffee. Just turn it back on. 328 Performance.
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Which is...
It's now an on-ramp.
Actually...
So angry about that.
Yeah.
I can take you to the exact spot where 328 Performance Hall used to sit. It's at the corner of 4th Avenue and Korean Vets Boulevard.
Yes.
And literally in the westbound lane, or the westbound lane at that corner, if you stand right in the middle of those two lanes, that is where 328 Performance Hall used to sit.
Yeah.
And
it makes me angry every time that I'm over there, because that place
was awesome.
Oh, it was
iconic.
It was an old factory that they turned into a
music venue.
A music venue.
And it was such a weird design for it, too.
Yeah.
Because,
you'd walk in and you were in a bar.
You had a bar in front of you, and then you had an opening on the left side and the right side of the bar that took you into the venue itself.
Yes. Yep.
But the bar actually wrapped all the way around.
Yes, and then the bar inside also on the side. Yep. And then there were the other rooms, like that's where Johnny Jackson's Soul Satisfaction used to have other dance parties and stuff down there.
And the nastiest bathroom on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We're talking like CBG.
Well...
You need a tetanus shot to look at it.
There's one worse in Nashville of an iconic place.
All right.
But yeah, that place, and again, let me pull the book.
No, I'll start because I can name them off top. Webb Wilder, Low Straight Jackets opened for Webb Wilder on that show. Helmet with Pavement opening up for them
4 times. 4 times I have seen They Might Be Giants at that venue.
Urge Overkill.
Yes.
They Mighty Mighty Boston.
Yes.
I actually got on stage, danced with Dancing Guy for a minute, and got pushed off the stage by Dickie Barrett.
Nice.
One of the iconic shows that happened there that I could have gone to, and I wish to God I had now. It was Pantera and White Zombie. This was which Vulgar Display of Power. I have a Pantera just celebrated its 30th anniversary, like in February.
Nice.
Okay, like is just a few weeks ago. White Zombie was not White Zombie yet. This is before Beavis and Butthead picked them up a year and a half later or something.
Right.
And they started getting momentum, but they toured together playing venues, and every story I have heard about that concert is like I have kicked myself for not. People were literally hanging from the rafters inside of that place.
I would believe it.
It just.
I saw Beck play there.
So
I embarrassed the lead singer of Smash Mouth there. I had some friends that actually opened. They were local, opened for Smash Mouth.
Right.
This is a show that was poorly marketed and advertised in Nashville. It was supposed to be an all-ages show. It was raining like cats and dogs. There was maybe 50 people in the venue.
Yep.
When my friends got through playing and left, so did the audience. There was like maybe 50 people left after that. And me and a friend of mine were standing at the stage because we were like, yeah, okay, we'll check them out and see, how they are live. They do the first song, and then they stop, and the lead singer goes, all right, who's getting up tonight? And there's no response because it's all a bunch of like moms and little kids and all this, because this is after Shrek.
Oh, God.
And I just looked up at the stage. I was like, it's an all-ages show, you moron. And then me and my buddy walked off and went back to the green room to hang out with our friends who just got through playing.
Well, the thing that I loved about 328, one of the many things I loved about it is they were the place that if you were coming in as a group of artists, like you would see 7 bands for $7.
Yeah.
You would see bands that you'd have one headliner and like 4 or 5 openers that would get, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes or whatever.
And 328 was good about booking locals for national headliners or regional headliners.
Absolutely. I knew so many people who opened for a band that was getting national radio play or whatever, and
it's something you and I had talked about on one of the other earlier episodes. Excuse me, can't talk today. Was a lot of the CCM, the Christian contemporary artists. That was a venue that they played, a lot.
Jars of Clay, and
at one point in time, I went to go see, and one night it was, I'm trying to remember, Guardian, Jars of Clay, Prayer Chain, Pray for Rain, and Bride.
Wow.
All in one night.
That is an eclectic.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
Bride was like kind of a hair metal band. Sort of.
Yeah.
And then Guardian is kind of like a heavy metal band.
Yeah.
But then PFR is a
very poppy.
Very pop, like quartet-ish type thing.
Yep.
And Pray for Rain was kind of an alternative a little bit.
They were kind of like very...
or not Pray for, but the Prayer Chain. The Prayer Chain was kind of an alternative something or other.
Yeah. And there was one other. Dakota Motor Company was on that too.
I love Dakota Motor Company.
Yeah.
Dakota Motor Company, let me tell you, Welcome Into the Sun and Welcome Race Fans are 2 great albums.
Literally the only 2 bands on that lineup I recognize are Jars of Clay and Bride.
I saw Jars of Clay play at...
I only know about Bride because somebody gave me a cassette tape.
Yeah. I saw Jars of Clay play Dancing in the District one time.
I saw them play at the Sound Stadium over at Old Greer.
Oh, nice. Some of the stuff that I have here for 328... My big concert that I saw there was in November of 1994. The Black Crowes were getting ready to go out on their Amorica tour, and they did a couple of warm-up dates, one of them in Atlanta and one of them here under the name OD Jubilee. And it was one of those things, literally, I was listening to KDF one day, and they were like, hey, there's a band playing tonight at 328 Florence Hall named OD Jubilee that may or may not be the Black Crowes. There were no advance tickets. It was at the door. You go, and me and my friend Richard went, and we got there and got in line. And it was funny because this was in May of 94, this was November 94. My birthday's in January. I was going to be 21 in January, so I was 20 years old. I'll never forget. We were sitting there, we're going through showing the ID. It was an 18 and over show. Of course, to drink, you had to be 21.
Right.
And they were like, if you were over 21, they were putting a stamp on the back of your hand. Mm-hmm. If you're under 21, they were putting it on your wrist, like on the other side. So
you couldn't wipe it
and
off.
the guy looked at my ID, and he goes, I should probably just put this like on the side of your hand or something. But he didn't, and he didn't put it on the top either. So that was the first time I ever smoked pot. Let me tell you this story. I got to tell the story though, because this is like, I love telling this story because people are like, that didn't happen. I'm like, no, seriously, this is exactly what happened. Okay, so that venue held like 800 people.
Yeah, it was all standing.
There's no seats. All standing room only. They jammed 1,200 people into that thing.
Oh my God.
Okay. And literally, it was one of those things. We were all so close that if one person moved, everybody moved.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that's how the Boston show was.
Yep.
And so
they might be Giants.
I was probably, we'll say, 5 feet from the stage. Mm-hmm. Okay, there was plenty of people between me, Richard, and I, and the stage.
Yeah.
But before the show started, they were the only ones playing, and we of course we get in there. We wound up waiting over an hour inside after we'd already waited a good hour outside. You know,
right.
So. This guy comes walking up. He's probably in his mid-30s or something, you know. And he comes walking. He was drunk as everything, too. Mm-hmm. And he comes walking up, and he's trying to, like, move his way in and he comes up and he's right next to me. And he can't, and like the people in front of us would not let him get any closer.
Right.
Like he was just like, and he's standing there, he's like, and so he reaches in his pocket and he pulls out his cigarette box, and he reaches in and he pulls out a joint and puts it in and lights it up. And he goes, "Hey man, you want some?" And I'm like, because I'd never smoked it, prior to that.
Right.
All right, sure, why not? Literally, he stayed up there long enough to pass that thing around to everybody within arm reach, and then he made his way back to the back and disappeared back into the crowd.
Wow.
Was he ever really there, though?
And then the Black Crowes came on and played for an hour and a half.
Well,
So how did Cheech get there?
I don't know.
Well, the funny thing is, you turned 21 in a Black Crowes show.
Well,
I turned 21 at a Guar show.
okay, I saw Guar there also. Okay.
Wow, I missed that.
I saw Guar. I saw Anthrax play there. I saw Machine Head. I saw Neurosis play there. I saw a lot of metal bands in the night. Typo Negative.
328
I
had
watched
a
Typo
lot
Negative.
of metal players.
Yes. A lot of metal, a lot of alternative.
Yes.
You were talking about
There's
the
the
Black
thing.
Crowes playing under assumed name.
Yeah.
Pearl Jam did the same
Oh,
thing.
I know. Yeah,
Hovercraft.
yeah. Well, the thing is, it was really kind of cool to watch with 328 Performance Hall because it was like, like Alanis Morissette played there when Jagged Little Pill first hit. Okay, and it was funny with her because like she played there, and then she came back like 6 months later and she played at Vandy at the Memorial Gym, and then the next year or later that year,
Starwood.
she played at Starwood, which I saw the Starwood show. I almost went to the 328 show because I was like that.
Right.
This might be it, but I wound up not doing it. Hootie and the Blowfish played there right as Cracked Rear View was getting big. Matchbox 20 played there right as Yourself or someone else or Someone Like You hit.
Maroon 5.
Tool played there when Undertow first started getting, Live played there right as they were coming up. Dave Matthews Band played there right as they were coming up. Counting Crows played there right as they were coming up.
Well, and the other...
And Garth Brooks played there.
Yes.
At a benefit show, like right as No Fences was released. Like he was starting to get some traction. Like Friends in Low Places had kind of just started getting, and he played there.
Right.
It's one of those. Marilyn Manson played there. Nine Inch Nails played there.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's you could literally go on and on.
It was one of the big regional hits that you had to play.
Well, and the cool thing about it is the price of the tickets.
Rage Against the Machine played there.
I think that was the selling
Korn
point.
played there
because it was standing room only, because they were limited on capacity. You would go to see a show for $20,
right?
And I mean,
it wouldn't even be that much.
Yeah, or
be
less.
like 10 or 15.
Yeah. I mean, that's hell. I can tell you how much you paid.
Now, just literally a half block up from 328.
Yep.
Is that other club that I was talking about that was Blue Sky Court.
Hold on before you get to that.
Oh, yeah, okay. Go on.
I saw Buck Cherry play there.
Oh, God.
I have a story that I will not tell on microphone about Buck Cherry because I have backstage pass. You can see my backstage pass there.
That.
So a half block up from 328 Performance Hall was this little coffee shop
Blue Sky
music venue called Blue Sky Court. And this was a cool little venue because it was like multi-roomed.
Right.
And you had what?
In 97, I saw Typo Negative play at 328 Performance Hall, general admission only, $11.
Jeez.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that's one of those. It didn't cost that much.
Right.
Anyways, go ahead.
So the door to get into this place was literally right next to the stage, which was in this long room that had the coffee bar in the back. This is where I actually had my first cappuccino at.
Okay.
If you went past the coffee bar, there was a hallway there with the two bathrooms, and it had a nook with a chessboard in it. So you go in there, chessboard. And if you went on around, there was a bigger room in there that had a bunch of couches and it had a big table, and then there would be people set up in there, playing D&D or other stuff.
Right.
If you kept going around, there was another big lounge area that had a bunch of couches that also had the door out to like the little patio area.
Right.
I mean, it was a legit big coffee house / music venue. Later on, and me and my buddy Kevin basically lived there
every
weekend. And somewhere in the middle of that, it turned into the Phoenix.
Okay.
And we lived there. And what they did is it was exactly the same, except they rearranged some stuff.
Right. Changed the name.
And we got to know the guy that worked the door quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And it got to the point where we'd be like, hey, what's up? Hey, go on in, guys. So we never paid cover going in for any of the bands. And, it's a bunch of regional stuff like the Lounge Flounders, whose guitar player ended up playing in Sixpence None the Richer later on.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Sean, I forget what Sean's last name is. Yeah. But Lounge Flounders was like one of my favorite local bands. You had regional bands like Floundering Trout, a band called B. This is where I got a bunch of the CDs from like the local regional stuff that you'll never see or hear. That's the first place I ever saw Low Straight Jackets.
Nice.
And then got to hang out with them after one of the shows.
That reminds me also, I saw Fleming and John play at 328 Performance Hall.
I saw them. I saw them play at Main Street in Murfreesboro. So, all right. So I'm going to throw two of them at you because you can't really talk about one without talking about the other one.
Okay.
Mercy Lounge and the Cannery.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay. So Mercy Lounge and the Cannery were located in a section of Nashville called Cannery
Row because they were old canneries.
It was a cannery. And they basically were. I'm trying to remember.
Don't say were because they're not gone yet. Well, we're in the countdown of it, but yeah.
But thanks, New York.
Yeah. What was it? One's upstairs, one's downstairs.
Well, basically, what it is that when you walk up to the entrance, there are two entrances. Mm-hmm. One of them is to the left, and that's the Cannery Ballroom. Yeah. And then if you go to the right, you can. Well, actually, there's even two entrances there because there's one that goes to Mercy Lounge, which is upstairs,
right?
And then there was the High Watch, which opened a little later. But I remember the first time I went to the Cannery because they hadn't subdivided it all yet, and so it was one of those things. It was a New Year's Eve show, like.
1 second. The official name is the Cannery Ballroom,
right?
Because they wanted it to sound classic,
right? But it was one of those things where before this was back in '92, I think, or something. New Year's Eve, and we went because there was a bunch of local bands playing, and what is Mercy Lounge? Was. It was still upstairs, but it was one of those things where it wasn't the entrance where it is now, where you go in and you immediately start going upstairs. Mm-hmm. The entrance to it the stairway was actually back over behind where the bar is back.
Yeah.
And so you went up there to get the thing. And then the High Watch was underneath that.
Much smaller venue.
But much smaller venue. All still really cool places to see bands play.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of local bands play there. At the Cannery itself, I saw Slick Lily play.
Because I'm trying to remember, Cannery was bigger than Mercy Lounge, right?
Yes. Now, I got to play in Mercy Lounge, which was a lot of fun. I love that stage. I wish to God it wasn't going away.
Yeah, unfortunately.
We don't know what's going to happen with it yet.
Oh, no, we know what's going to happen with it because a bunch of land developers
they're going to turn it into condos.
Are coming down to turn it into...
Which is stupid.
Condos.
It is stupid.
Take your Yankee butt back north.
I know. I guarantee you. No, that's not. It's somebody from California.
No, it's New York. It's a New York based.
It's someone from outside the region.
Developer.
Fellas, they saved the exit in. There's still hope. We're not dead yet.
No.
Yeah, but the person who owns the exit in, his wife is a complete and utter.
Okay.
Word I'm not going to say.
Smart man.
No, and I mean that 100%. No. I mean she.
Yeah.
But the. What was this? Anyways, Mercy Lounge is. I love Mercy Lounge. That Mercy Lounge room has got one of the best vibes.
Yeah,
I have, and I love their stage.
Yeah.
I love their I love performing on that stage. That stage is so awesome because it's open all the way around, and it's got the two pillars in the front, and you can actually step out onto the walkway around the pillars. It's just. It is such, and the sound in there is so amazing.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the last gig I played was at
Mercy. Now,
and
what most people, if you're listening to this and you're not from Nashville, there's actually a national connection to that because that's where the music mafia got their start at.
Yes, it's true.
And
it's true.
We're talking about Gretchen Wilson and Big and Rich and Cowboy Troy.
That and all that in the mid 2000s.
Yeah,
but I know. Hey, look, I got no love for John Rich. Okay,
that was a regular, I think, Sunday night.
It was
thing that happened every week,
and they also
all of them got discovered.
And they would do
that venue.
Was it on Monday nights? Was the 8 off 8? 8 off 8?
Yeah,
8 off 8. Yeah,
yeah. And it was kind of cool because they would have different people come in to book that. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't the same booker every night. You know, different people would book it, and you literally would have 8 different bands play. Or like artists or whatever, but you would have like a hip hop artist followed by
like 10 or 15 minute sets.
Yeah, but it was really cool because it was so eclectic of all the different. It's kind of like when what's his name used to do his shows over at Exit In. He was on the radio, the country guy,
Billy Bones.
Yeah, Billy Bones.
No, not Bobby Bones. The guy who used to do the.
I can't remember his last. I hate it because he passed a few years ago.
It was the guy who was doing the.
He used to do the radio show.
What was it?
Was it Bobby? It's not Bobby.
Not Bobby Bones. I can't think of his name right now.
Rob would be killing me right now.
Oh, he's probably screaming.
I know if
call him.
Rob doesn't listen to the show.
Call him live on the air right now.
But yeah, but it was one of those things that he used to do something similar where it was there would be a bunch of. He would just have a bunch of eclectic. Some of them would be country, some would be rock, some of them would be whatever.
Well, I've seen ones that literally you had a spoken word person, you had a country artist, you had a hip hop artist, you had a metal artist.
Yeah, I know.
I'm telling you, call him.
I'm not calling him.
No, don't.
First off, Rob's not going to answer the phone. Okay,
don't call him. All right.
I'm not. I'm looking. Okay. I'm looking up.
Well, moving on, Dave. What's your next one?
Windows on the Cumberland.
Oh, wow.
This is another venue that I lived at quite a bit. And that's because some good friends of mine had a band called Fluid Tuesday.
Yeah.
That played there
all the time.
A lot.
All the time. That was the one that was owned by Boots Randolph, wasn't it?
I think so.
Okay. For those of you who don't know who Boots Randolph is, he was a very famous saxophone player, had a song called Yakety Sax.
He played yakety sax.
That's Boots Randolph.
I didn't realize that was Boots Randolph.
That's Boots Randolph.
Boots Randolph had a club that was in.
I thought he had Windows in the Cumberland. I thought that was his.
No, but prior to that, he had a club inside of Opryland Hotel. It was called Boots.
Oh,
yeah. And he would play there like every Tuesday night or something like that.
My friends, I was actually the bass player, James McKinney. Mm-hmm. Had found out that I was taking some recording classes and was like, "Are you interested in this?" And what I didn't know at the time,
Billy Block.
Billy Block,
that's who it was. Yeah,
and what I didn't know is that he was running a small recording studio over there in Hendersonville.
Nice.
So he pulled me in and started, teaching me stuff and, showing me stuff and letting me work there some.
Right.
And they were going to...
The most uncomfortable I've ever seen Dave in my life happened in that studio.
Believe it.
Anyway.
Not for a bad reason.
I'll let you know. I'll let you tell that story in a minute. But Fluid Tuesday was actually recording an album that they were going to do as a live album, but it ended up just being a studio album that I actually ended up with an assistant credit on.
Oh, nice.
But Fluid played Windows on the Cumberland, it seemed like every weekend.
Yeah.
And I still listen to that album. I love that album.
Well, the cool thing about Windows on the Cumberland...
them and the Loft.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Loft played there. It was the John something experience.
There were quite... I loved Windows on the Cumberland.
Well, the cool thing about Windows...
Because it really did. It was all these big windows that opened out over the Cumberland River over First Avenue.
Right over First. So
awesome.
When they were getting going, especially in the summer, they would open that up and you could hear it through all of Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
The other cool thing is you had to walk through this whole little...
The alley
to get to it.
And there was a little lunch counter.
There was a smoke shop.
There was ice cream.
There was the occult store downstairs.
There was at one time the Great Escape had a small building. There was a
the smoke shop. There was actually more.
There was a smoke shop down there that I got kicked out of for calling a water pipe a bong.
I used to know the guy that owned that shop.
He did not like you saying the word bong inside.
No, he was not a fan of that. But
it was a head shop. Let's call it what it was.
It absolutely was.
I have very fond memories of sitting at that lunch counter at like midnight with a friend of mine. No one else in the place. The place was practically closed down.
Yep.
Just snockered, singing at the top of our lungs, the Scotsman.
I knew the guy that owned that thing at one point in the late 90s,
Nice.
I was actually at the final show.
Oh, okay.
At Windows.
At Windows.
Yeah, that was the Loft and Fluid Tuesday.
Yeah.
And
we tried to. They tried to absolutely blow the roof off of that.
Oh, I believe
it was a great show.
I was in
and
the
you know
balcony
the thing about it
show.
is that it moved down second hour. It was on Second Avenue, like
Second.
on down like south. Second, and it never took off over there because it's like it wasn't the same. And you know what they did? They put apartments in there,
all right,
because that's what they do with everything. And but Windows on the Cumberland, I love the layout of that place.
Yeah,
because you walk in, there was a loft up top, you know, and so it was one of those things. The stage was in the corner next to the windows, in between the stairs and the window. And then, so you were looking at the regular whatever, but then you had these people up top. Yeah. And then the bar was back over at the first. It was a small. Loved that place.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Loved that place.
Do you want to tell the story about the...
We were in the recording studio, and Dave, because he'd been working on some stuff, and so he was like, "Hey man, why don't you come over? We'll work on some of your material." I'm like, "All right, cool." So we did this song, and so Dave, we were like, "All right."
James was there. James,
me, and the three of us were there, and that other dude was there for a little while too. I can't remember his name, but
Sweepy.
Yeah,
Sweepy Walker, who was the Opry star Walker.
Jerry Jeff Walker?
No. I cannot think of.
It'll come to you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Anyways, we're sitting there, and so Dave James is like, "Dave, you want to lay down a drum track?" And Dave was like, "I don't know." I was like, "Dude, go." I mean, because Dave's a really good drummer. He won't tell you that, but he is. And so he went in there, and it was funny because like it literally was the kit, but there was no there were no cymbals or anything. So he was just playing, whatever. Mm-hmm. And literally, we're like a minute into this song. He's playing along.
Ray Walker.
Okay.
It was his grandson, Scott Walker, who we referred to as Sweepy.
And James and I are in the control booth, and we're watching him, and we're talking about, like, dude, this guy's a metronome. Like, he is right on this. I had the worst time playing along to a click track, like just doing my guitar parts. Yeah. Dave went in there, was on it. I mean, just but the problem is Dave started watching us, seeing us talk. Yeah. And
threw him off.
Started messing up. Yeah. And we're like, and he was just nervous the entire time. Like, what are they talking about? What are they talking about?
Dude, I've done it too. Don't even worry about it.
And we're like, no, dude, we're talking about how good you are, okay?
Or were.
Put me in a booth with no windows and just let me do my thing.
I understand. Mm-hmm. All right, Alan, what's your next one?
Let's see. What have we talked about? I'm trying to think if there was anything else in Nashville
I'll tell you one.
Loved going to.
You played there.
Springwater.
Okay.
Well, no, I was going to say Guido's.
I didn't love Guido's, okay?
You loved Guido's.
I loved Guido's. I loved Guido's because we played there quite a bit.
Yeah.
But it was not a good music venue.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a little Guido's pizza shop, and it was literally one of those things where there was kind of like you walked in and the counter was on the right hand side, and there was a couple of did you ever go to Guido's? The one down the one down on at Vandy.
Yeah. 21st Avenue.
Off 21st Avenue. Behind where Ben and Jerry's. I think it's an oyster bar now.
Yeah.
Something, actually now it's a hot chicken place.
Over there by Satco.
It's behind it's basically catty corner to Satco.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So we played a few shows there, but it was literally you walk in, there was a counter on the right hand side, there were tables, whatever, and then you walk down like 3 stairs into the back dining area, which was twice the size of this room or something like that, maybe 2.5 times the size. It wasn't very big,
right?
And they had a small little stage.
Let me guess, in the corner.
Across the back, okay? So it was one of those things where, like, you literally would set the drums up on one end of it and put the bass on the other end of it, and then you would have the guitar and whatever else in between.
Try to squeeze between.
And their PA was like 2 speakers mounted on the wall that weren't very good, and I mean it was not a great place as far as that kind of stuff. But I had fun playing there because I was 19, 20 years old and playing in my first band.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about.
But it wasn't a great venue. Now a lot of lot of local bands played there.
Right.
A lot of them. That was especially a lot of like suburban kids that had bands and stuff. That weren't like Vandy students or whatever. That was one of the places that they could go and play without having to have a demo. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Matter of fact, I saw John Burke that was in the Loft.
Yeah.
His band. Geraldine the Donkey was the name of his band prior to that.
Nice.
I saw them play there and was blown away. Like, I was one of those, like, holy crap, all three of these guys. It was him, and Spence was playing drums, and this kid Daniel was playing bass and singing for them.
Yeah.
All three of them, they were, like, still in high school.
But just rocking it out.
And it wasn't just they were rocking it. It was one of those things where they're going, like, all three of these people have careers in music. I mean, just like, wow.
Yeah.
All
right. Well,
that place was all right.
I'll throw one out there then. That's still kind of a. And the minute I say it, you two are both going to light up. Lucy's Record Shop.
Oh, Lucy's. Fun Girls from Mount Pilot.
Yes.
As well as Manor Astro Man played there a lot.
Yeah.
Java Christ played there all the time.
And Lucy's was such a strange little place too. It was just.
Well, you had the record shop out front,
right,
and then the venue in the back.
Of course, Mary. I mean,
yeah,
that was her passion.
Yes,
that was. She moved to Nashville and she wanted to open a place that.
Well, it was kind of
could be a little bit of everything for everybody.
Yeah, it was.
And she opened the record shop, and then
created the venue afterwards.
Right, and it was with a couple of the guys from Java Christ, as well as whatever, where they came in and they were like, "Hey, you've got this extra room back here. It would be great if we started having gigs and stuff." And so they all worked on it. It was basically they came in and built it.
Yeah,
and Lucy's became.
Synonymous.
Yeah,
Well, it kind of was patterned after Ernest Tubbs' record shop.
A little bit.
Where you had the record shop up front and then you had the place in the back.
Right. But it was the punk rock version.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's one of the few punk rock locations in Nashville.
Yeah.
Which was funny because, like, Marky Ramone played there one time. I mean, it was like,
Well, somebody else played there. I can't remember.
There was a few, like, bigger bands that was like, like Teen Idols played there. I know quite a bit.
And I mean, it had, again, like you said, Man or Astro Man was a big one. It was there a lot. There was a few others that
and I know I can't pull them off of my head.
But that's just one of those places that, again, if you're from the Nashville area and you grew up in that time frame, if you say Lucy's Record Shop, you're going to get a reaction out of people.
Well, I know when she sold, and then they tried to keep going with IndieNet.
It just didn't work.
It never, and now it's Tribe and Play. And every time I go by there, I'm like, oh, that's where Lucy's used to be.
Yep.
And I'll admit, I was not a regular there.
Yeah, but you knew the place.
I knew the place. I knew a lot of people that hung out there. I knew a lot of the bands that played there, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like, as I've gotten older and met other people, and we get to talking, and it's like, oh, you used to hang out at Lucy's? Oh, okay. It was just kind of one of those.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
What about it, Dave? You got another one to throw out here?
I'm trying to think. Where else did we go?
Springwater.
Yeah.
I mean, that was we said it a while ago.
Might as well bring it up.
That's what I was going to say, is that Springwater actually has the nastiest bathroom in Nashville. And again,
the smallest.
And again, it's one of those places kind of like CBGB where you go in there and there's just like writing all over the walls.
There's writing, there's dust.
That is like
there's no telling what
nicotine
all over that.
That's like the ultimate dive bar.
It is. Nashville. And what's so cool about it is that you could, because it's Springwater Dinner Club is what it is, the name of it.
Yeah.
Literally, it's one of those things you could go in there in the afternoon. 5:30 or something like that, and walk into that place, and it has made the list of best dive bars in America multiple times.
I think it won it once.
Yeah, it's almost always in that top 10, top 20 at the worst. It's right next to Centennial Park.
Yep,
behind a McDonald's. There's no parking.
You kind of have to know where you're going to find the place.
Yeah.
Once you get there, though, it's one of those things where you walk in and you're like, oh, this is going to be interesting. And it is, because you'll see college students there. You'll see homeless people there.
Yeah.
You'll see a bunch of hippies there. And then you'll see dudes in their suits who just got off work from wherever it is they're working downtown.
HCA.
That are,
because HCA's over kind of behind there.
And it is. It's like anybody and everybody is in that place.
The only thing that you don't see a lot of in that place is tourists.
It's because that's ours.
Exactly. That's
and we'll run the tourist out.
Yeah, I mean, because it's not. You come to Nashville, you don't expect to find.
And you're right.
Like Springwater.
And you're right. It is. Let me tell you about a bad place to play music.
The stage is a foot tall.
The stage is
especially in a dress and fishnets,
high heels. Okay, because the thing is that stage is two pieces.
Yeah,
that are pushed together.
And will move.
Yeah.
And if you step backwards in high heels and your heel goes down between those two pieces of the stage, that is not a fun. And yes, I'm speaking from experience.
He's speaking from experience.
There may be footage. We're not.
Oh, there
sure.
is. There is. I know there is.
Augie Stardust days.
Yeah, the debut of Augie Stardust.
There you go.
Also, the other thing that really sucks about that place is that they don't have they have no monitors.
Yeah,
none.
Yeah, all
they have again. They have a couple of speakers up on the wall.
Yeah,
and that's it. And I know all through that set. I was sitting there trying to do the old thing, like putting my hand on my ear to try to hear myself inside my head, and I was just like, I know. But it was one of those things because it was Rob's birthday. We were at Springwater, which nobody gives a fuck whatsoever if you're actually good, and the fact we did so many like 80s punk songs. It's like you don't have to be on key to sing any of that stuff. You
just have to be loud.
And nobody
we
was listening to what you were singing
Not
anyway,
a whole
because
lot
everybody was standing there going, He's cross dressing.
Yeah,
we knew this day was coming at some point.
It definitely surprised everybody. I think what surprised anybody even more was when I started quote unquote flashing the bat signal, and I still have those underwear. Maybe I'll put a picture of them.
No, absolutely not.
Yikes!
But that was a fun gig. I had so much fun with that.
And Springwater by itself. I mean, just to kind of give you an idea, the entire layout of the place is basically 2 rooms.
Yes.
You have one room that has like a couple of pool tables and like some video games in the back and darts and stuff like that.
It's a regular dive bar, and there's a few tables, and that kind of stuff. And then there's a bar.
Yeah, there's a bar that extends through.
Yeah, in the next room, you have the bar in the back and some tables, and then you have and the thing is, what we didn't tell you is that the stage is basically
about the size of a twin-size bed.
Yeah, something like that. They've got some reddish shag carpet.
Oh yeah,
on the pieces.
I forgot about the carpet.
And then they've got those. They've got those tinsel, like they're like pink tinsel, like glitter, or whatever, like streamers that hang down the back. Yeah. It is such. And what's so funny about that is that like that stage has wound up in a lot of stuff. Like there was a show that was on, I think it was on CMT a little while back. It was called Still the King. It has Billy Ray Cyrus.
Okay,
where he was an Elvis impersonator, where he's kind of playing himself as somebody who had some success at one time and then had a scandal, and now he was an Elvis impersonator, and he played a gig at and I was like, oh, that's Springwater. That is,
Yeah,
highly recommend. I know we said that tourists don't really go there.
No, tourists are not welcome.
But if you come to Nashville, go have a beer there. I mean, that's
you'll get run out.
On Sunday nights, I don't know if they're still doing it, but years ago they used to have a quote unquote blues jam. Okay, the one time I went to it, I swear, everybody that I saw play at that thing came from a retirement center somewhere. That were
the Sultans of Swing.
That were on or off various types of medication. That was some of the most fun I have ever. I mean, just like wow.
So I did find out if any of our listeners want to see what Springwater looks like, it was actually featured in a TV show. There was a TV show on the channel Vice. The show's called Noisy.
Okay.
Where they went around to different locations and talked to specific people in different cities. Well, when they came to Nashville, they talked to 2 artists. They talked to Jelly Roll, who's a rap artist. Not really all that familiar with his work, but
he's part of the country rap.
Okay.
Stuff.
Oh, okay.
The other one that they talked to,
not as famous as
with Upchurch and some of those guys.
Cowboy Troy.
Yeah. The other one that they talked to,
totally different,
and
genre,
had her shooting pool at Springwater. Kesha.
Yeah, it's surprising. Oh, Black Keys played there.
Yeah.
Literally, they did several after they got big.
Yeah.
did several shows there.
But
you know,
I have to admit,
Kesha,
it's kind of
that doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
Well, but just to see, her walking around and talking about Springwater and talking about the area, and just to see exactly how much of a complete dive this joint is.
Especially now.
Yeah.
The fact, and of course, it sold a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of like, oh crap, they're going to go in there and they're going to wipe this off the map as well.
Yeah.
The people who purchased it said that they were not going to do anything to it.
Yeah, we'll see
how long that lasts. But I tell you this right now, if they ever announce that Springwater is closing, I am going there just to go. I know I don't drink anymore, but I will go and just hang out,
play pool,
and just and shoot the crap with just whoever's
soak
there
in the atmosphere.
Yeah, and we were talking about local bands from the early 2000s that I saw play there. Remember the Lucky Guns?
Yeah,
that's where I first saw them. And I saw them play there multiple times.
Okay. Right.
And they were a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
Anyways, what do we got?
But yeah, I mean, Springwater is definitely one. There's a few more that I've got kind of listed off here.
I've got one. All right. And it's one of the venues that I probably miss the most.
What's that?
Okay.
12th and Porter.
So I have 12th and Porter, and I also have
Is
3rd
12th and
Lindsley.
Porter gone?
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned, yes.
Is it actually gone?
I believe so. I have to look.
I mean, I think there's something like that building is still there as far as the last time I was down there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If it's not
that building was still there.
If it's not a David Faison,
yeah, I know.
Bar,
Jody Faison.
Sorry,
yeah,
my
Jody
apologies.
Yeah, Jody Faison.
But you had in that whole little area down there, you had 12th and Porter, which was a music venue on one side and a restaurant on the other.
Yes.
That had excellent pizza.
It was a great
excellent food in general.
Yeah. Across the street, you had
Pub of Love,
which was
that's a place I miss.
I forgot about the Pub of Love.
Which was a place that I used to hang out quite a bit with one of my exes.
Yeah.
And then you
Sarah.
And then you had and then you had the jazz piano bar right next to it. I forget. It was something 1-2-3. Jazz 1-2-3 or
wasn't it like Cafe 1-2-3?
Cafe 1-2-3.
Yeah. But that was the whole thing. Jody Faison or the Faison group owned all of those. Yeah. You know.
But 12th and Porter was a great venue. The stage was awesome. It had these huge two
we saw
angels.
How many times did we see Mavis play?
Oh,
there?
Mavis!
I mean, that was
the Wooten Brothers.
Yeah,
I went to go see the Wooten Brothers.
Billy Goats
times
play there. We saw all kinds.
I saw Alejandro Escovedo play there.
Oh, Milkshake. I saw Milkshake play there, and I saw them do the Rocky Horror Picture Show there 2 years in a row for Halloween.
Yeah. Nice.
And basically what it was is that they had a big screen up, and they would
what the band performed the music.
The band would perform on. They would show the movie, and when it got to the music, the band would play, and they had a whole bunch of different musicians.
Oh, that's awesome.
From Nashville, local musicians who would come in and do the different.
But the room was so great that they would actually rent it out during the day as like for recording.
Yeah.
Well,
if I'm not mistaken, didn't Here Come the Mummies used to play over there a lot?
Yes. Quite a bit. Which is,
for those of you that don't know, Here Comes the Mummies
is if you ever get the chance to see those guys perform,
here's the thing about
my wife has
here's
a
the
friend
thing about Here Comes
Tanya who loves that.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about Here Comes the Mummies. You will have no idea who you're actually seeing play.
They're all session musicians at some form. They're all incredibly good, and
but the thing
all
is,
completely unrecognizable.
Unrecognizable, and sometimes you like. I know for a fact that Vince Gill played with him multiple times.
Oh yeah.
People had until he started singing, you didn't know who he was, and then it was like there's no denying that voice.
The fact that he's like 6'5".
Yeah, there's that too. But it's still one of those things where
he's
it's
not
like
quite that tall.
Yeah, he's pretty tall.
He's a big dude.
He's not much taller than I am.
Well.
But
I've sat across the bar from him at Nashville and eaten breakfast.
I've
met
multiple
him,
times. Been around him multiple times.
Yeah.
He's tall. Especially, of course, everybody's tall to me.
And it's a coin toss when you meet him. He's either one of the nicest guys you've ever met in the world, or he's one of the biggest jerks you've ever met in the world. And he's been both for me.
Yeah.
I've never seen him be a jerk. I've seen him be kind of standoffish. Where it wasn't a jerk. He was just kind of like, okay, I'm not going to bother.
He nearly knocked me over one time.
Oh, really?
So
it's okay.
I was leaving a Predators game, and I was walking up Fifth Avenue because I was parked up at the top of the hill. So I'm walking up just as the Ryman let out.
Oh.
And everybody's rushing out. So I've got a crowd going one way and a crowd going the other, and I'm not looking, and I turn around, and I am literally staring that man in the chin. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't looking either. We bumped into each other, and I nearly fell back. Now, for those of you who haven't seen me, I'm 6'2", 300 pounds. So
no, you're right at 3.
yeah, I'm right at 3 now.
I've got you by about 25 pounds right now.
So,
Yeah,
but the
you're
fact
both
that
working on
man
it, so
could
it's-
nearly knock me down, I was like, okay,
Yeah, he's not a small
you're,
dude.
You are a large man.
Great musicians.
Oh, incredible musician.
He's a player.
Yeah.
He's a player.
He's a player.
That's the thing he doesn't get enough love for is his guitar playing.
Yeah.
Because
Everybody's like, oh, he's a great singer. No,
It's like,
Dude,
he's
a
like
great
Brad
guitar
Paisley.
player, yeah.
Brad Paisley's an amazing guitar player.
everybody kind of acknowledges his guitar playing
now, but you know.
Nobody has ever really acknowledged Vince Gill's.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Well, I mean, you got him. You got Keith Urban is another great.
Yeah.
I mean, just phenomenal guitar player.
yeah.
If you can get past the hair, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right. It's a guitar player.
He does
so.
kind of have
back to
that,
venues.
Yes.
I've had enough of country
that
music.
John
Fair.
Bon Jovi
Well,
thing going on.
then you're not going to like this because one of the ones that I had on my list was the Bluebird.
I have actually never been to the
So
Bluebird
the
Cafe.
Bluebird Cafe, I adore that place for one
Bluebird
reason.
Cafe is about 1.5 size of this room, right?
It's
It is
very
a
tiny.
tiny.
a very
If you ever saw the show Nashville, they lied. They lied about how big, or Thing Called Love.
Thing Called Love. Yeah.
They lied about how big that room is,
Yeah.
especially on Nashville.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, no. The Bluebird would love to have this much
And
room.
in fact, you brought up A Thing Called Love. That's a great, if for any of our listeners that haven't seen it yet, that's a great, kind of explanation on the venues.
It's also a time capsule of what Nashville looked like in the early 90s.
Not only that, it has two of my favorite cameos in it.
Mm-hmm.
The woman that played, I think her name's Lucy, the one that owned the Bluebird.
It was Katie
It was
Oslin.
Katie
Yeah.
Oslin.
Yeah.
Do you know who played the bartender?
Not off the top of my head.
It was Webb Wilder.
Oh, okay.
Oh, was it really?
It was
I
Webb
gotta go
Wilder.
back and watch it again.
I have it.
For our listeners who don't know who Webb Wilder is, you need to.
He was a big regional guy around here.
You need to go back
what's-
and listen to Webb Wilder.
Just do a Spotify search for something called the Webb Wilder Credo.
Yes.
Was it work hard, play hard, eat hard, sleep hard, something else? Wear
your
glasses
glasses.
if you need them.
Yeah. Of course, Government Cheese played around here.
Yes.
Because they were out of Bowling Green, but they played here a ton back in the day.
Yes, they did. Along with Jason the Scorcher.
Jason and the Scorchers. Yeah. You go through a ton of those old. You had the Beat Farmers,
Mel and the Party Hats.
Marl and the Party Hats. They still play around every once in a while. You had Velcro Pygmies, and who still play around. Every
Screaming
once in-
Cheetah Wheelies.
Screaming Cheetah Wheelies was out of here. No, who was the other one? The Velcro Pygmies, and then there was. Who was the other one? I can't remember who the other one.
One of
was.
these days, I want to do an episode with you guys about the worst band names you've ever heard, because some of the ones we've talked about have just been abysmal. But
Well, I mean, you also had that metal band Legion.
Yeah.
Legion, they played a lot. Strangely, they played a lot of the rockabilly like clubs down on Broadway.
But they were
that
metal.
I know. Well, they were new metalish. I never could get past Dude's voice. I couldn't.
Okay.
It's too much. Here's another wrestling thing. Too much AFI for me. Just
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. he's got the fire inside. But well, I'll throw another one out here really quick because as we're kind of wrapping up, there are a bunch of them that unfortunately don't exist anymore. Like Ace of Clubs was one.
Ace
that
of Clubs.
I
Forgot about Ace of Clubs.
Loved that
Ace
venue.
of Clubs was more of a dance, an actual bar
True.
club type place then. But they did have concerts.
A lot of
there
live
from
shows
time,
there.
time
a lot
to
of
time.
live shows there. City Hall was another
Yeah,
one. That got,
I never went to. City.
never went.
I went there.
No,
a
that
couple
was
times.
down in the Gulch,
Yep.
wasn't it? Yeah,
Yep.
that's.
But there's
I know because everybody kept saying that was kind of taking the place of 328. There's been
Yes.
several places they've said, I'll tell you one place I like to see bands now that reminds me a lot of 328, and that is shoot.
he just
Over
went
there in North Nashville.
In North Nashville.
Yeah, where antique
about-
archaeology.
You're talking about
is and
Marathon Music.
Marathon
Works.
Music
Music
Works.
Works,
That place
That's on
reminds
Charlotte. That's more West Nashville.
that place reminds me a lot of 328. It's
well, I
not
think
the
it's just 'cause
same.
it's so-
It's not the
it's open,
same,
you know.
right?
I've never been there.
It's kind of cool.
It's
I've
a
seen
nice
some-
venue. Don't get me wrong. It's a very nice venue, but it does, I think they're trying very hard to capture that 328, and they're not going to.
They're not going to. But it's also kind of cool because most of the people who go there never went to 328.
True.
So they don't really get it.
Right.
It's like, whereas some of us who've been around for a long time, the first time I walked in there to see a show,
right?
I stood there, looked around, I was like, wow, this reminds me so much of 328.
Okay. And I've got the one that we're going to finish up with, boys, because it's been mentioned several times. Technically, it's not in Nashville. It's on the outskirts of Nashville.
Main Street?
No. Starwood.
Yeah.
Starwood Amphitheater.
Yes.
Which became AmSouth for, 2 seasons before?
2 or 3, I can't remember.
Oh, no. I take that back. It was Starwood Amphitheater, and then it was First American Music Center for 1 season.
And then it became
AmSouth bought out First American Bank, and then it became AmSouth for a while, and then it became Starwood again before it closed.
And for the last season.
Yeah, then it became an open plot of land on
which
Murfreesboro Road.
Still just an open plot of land on Murfreesboro Road.
Yeah.
Which is such a shame.
So real quick,
if you go on YouTube, there are people who have posted where they have taken drone footage over that area.
Oh, there was a couple of bands that have recorded music videos.
I know.
On the
and that's
the
one
ruins.
of those. That's one of those things that is still a scar, both on the land over there and on music. Like music fans like ourselves who grew up with all of that.
So real quick, just to kind of explain what this place was. It is an amphitheater, which basically meant that it was an open air stadium or a theater or stage. I should
basically
say.
What it is, you
had seating that went back about what?
I don't know. It would hold
30,
about
40 rows.
Hold about 17,000 people.
Yeah,
total.
it's where I graduated high school. Actually,
oh, nice.
Yeah,
and so the thing is they had the pavilion area, which was up close, which was the actual seats, which held
was
about
covered.
5,000-ish or so.
And then you had the grassy hill.
Yes.
And then you had.
Where inevitably there was always a fire going on there.
There was always a fight.
Yeah,
always.
And there was always weed smoking.
Yes,
and there was also they had the area in the back that they had temporary stages at times when they would do things like Lollapalooza.
I went to Lollapalooza.
They also would every once in a while if they had somebody that came through and played there that couldn't fill the pavilion. Sometimes they would do just pavilion shows where they would just sell
that
seats.
was that Pantera show. It was just a pavilion
there was
show.
when I saw them. See, I saw Pantera and White Zombie there when they did that Clash of the Titans tour. I saw Pantera come through the next year after that, and they had Machine Head and Cold Chamber with them, and that was a full on everybody.
And this was
but they had what they called. They would do it. It was at the. They would have shows on the veranda, what they called the veranda.
On the veranda.
And it was basically they would set up a stage at the very end of the walk, like where all normally you would have like all your vending area
restrooms and all that.
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
it was over up close to the restrooms, and they would set up over there. It was all general admission. I saw the Summerland tour, one of the first years it went out. Play there. It was Everclear, Space Hog, 7 Year Bitch, and Tracy Bonham. And then the next year. Or maybe it was the same year. No. That was in '95. The next year, some friends of mine. It was in. And I've got the ticket stub over there.
Doesn't surprise me.
Some friends of mine were like, "Hey, I just broken up with my girlfriend," and some friends were like, "Hey, why don't you come and go with us to the show? That's coming up this weekend." I'm like, "Who is it again?" They're like, "It's 311." That they were like, really. I didn't know 311. And I was like. Isn't there somebody else opening for them that is just kind of new on the scene? They're like, oh yeah, it's No Doubt.
Nice.
And it was one of those things where Just a Girl had already been on the radio and been a hit, but Spiderwebs had just hit the radio, and Spiderwebs was the song that just blew them up like crazy. So it was right before they got huge, and they weren't the headliners. They were. They were the openers.
Right. Well, and Starwood will always hold a special place in my heart for a couple of reasons. Like I said, number
Jimmy
one.
Buffett shows.
Oh, well, my mother is the biggest parrot head you'll ever meet.
Yes,
I've been to several of them.
I know.
But it's where I walked, in high school.
Right.
It's where my wife did.
Really?
She went to Hillwood.
Okay, I went to Laverne.
Okay.
So, but that was a big thing because it was open and you could get the seating on it.
Yeah.
It's also where I went to see my very, very, very first concert.
Okay.
I think I was like 12 or 13 years old. The Temptations and the Four Tops.
Nice.
You're going to start it right.
That's a good show.
That is a good show.
That's good parenting is what that is.
Yes, it is.
My first date that I remember going was taking a girl to see Meatloaf at that.
Nice.
I've snuck in
Meatloaf there. Yeah.
so many times. I've snuck in to see The Cure. I snuck in to see Fleetwood Mac back when they reformed. On
was it that like when they got the original the
original members back when Christian McVie and
All
Lindsey Buckingham had come back on it?
Yeah.
Nice.
I've seen at one time you could actually buy season passes.
Yes.
Yeah, you could.
To Starwood.
It was basically it was grass seats.
Yeah, well, it was grass, or you could get
actually because they did have like those what the box seats they called them. It was an area that was closed off. For
but
everybody.
The cool thing about that is because my parents ended up getting that, so we would get these tickets, and then you were like, I have no idea who these artists are. We'll give them to somebody else. Oh my gosh, some of the tickets that they gave away were just mind blowing. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Motley Crue, they gave it away.
Oh no!
Sorry, Dave.
Was that the Karabi years though?
I believe so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was.
Everybody hates on the
Hooligans Holiday.
Right? Yeah,
I think it's not a bad album.
It's not a bad album. It's just not a Motley Crue album.
No, it's not a Motley Crue album.
James Taylor, we gave away. John Tesh, I don't.
Give those away.
Tesh,
Give those away.
But
those are both two good ones to give away.
I still remember going to see Howie Mandel doing stand up in there,
and they would do stuff like that every day.
The opening act for him was Rob Schneider.
Nice.
So and for Nashvillians specifically,
Starwood was a rite of passage.
If we started going through all my ticket stubs over there from Starwood, we'd be here all night.
Well, you probably
that's most of.
Is it safe to say you're looking at about maybe 50-60% of them?
Oh yeah,
yeah. So
my first show in town,
probably more,
was with Tony Summers.
Oh yeah,
we his mom had that little S10 pickup truck, and there was not enough room for everybody. So me and Tony ended up sitting in the back of that truck.
Did Fred go?
Who?
His dad, Fred?
No.
He didn't go.
No,
okay.
he never went to shows.
I don't know who these people are.
Tony Summers
we will
was
have to
the
tell you
guitar
about
player for one of
my bands. Yeah.
Okay.
He actually.
And we stopped on Dickerson Road, and it may have been at Prince's to pick up dinner.
As you do.
Yeah, and then went to Starwood, and it was Bad Company and Leonard Skinner.
Oh my god!
Oh yeah.
I saw Skinner there like 3 or 4 times.
Oh, I saw Skinner.
I saw Buffett there countless times.
I tell you what, there were 3 bands that seemed, well, 2 of them in particular are acts, and one of them that seemed like Skinner seemed like they always played there.
Oh yeah,
whether or not they actually did.
Hank Williams Jr.
Hank Williams Jr. always played there, and Jimmy Buffett always played there.
Yep.
And I have seen all 3 of them.
So the thing that led to the downfall of Starwood, though, was
they wanted to develop it. Is what it was.
Its location is what really downfalled it. So to real quick,
technically, it was in Antioch, Tennessee.
Yes, which is just southeast of Nashville.
Right.
But the problem is they put this venue beside a 2-lane or a 4-lane highway,
Murfreesboro Road,
and another 2-lane highway.
Right. That's I forget what that road.
Hobson Pike.
Hobson. There you go.
Yeah.
But the problem was that was the only way that you could get to this venue. So
it would back up traffic.
It would back up traffic for hours. Not just getting there, but getting out.
We missed the band that I wanted to see.
Oh yeah.
Because your stinking girlfriend at the time had to stop and rescue a cat,
which she didn't do.
So
she almost drove into oncoming traffic to get over to this cat.
Jeez.
And because of that, I only got to hear one song from L.A. Guns.
L.A. Guns.
Oh, Tracy Guns, very nice.
I only got to hear the one song from L.A. Guns, and that was the only band that I really wanted to see.
Was it Jane?
Ballad of Jane.
Ballad of Jane.
Yeah.
But that was also the night that you didn't know that you met your future wife. So
we don't talk about that night because that was not a good night for her.
Yeah,
well, but
it was a fun night for me.
And also, it's basically it backs up to like small neighborhoods.
Yeah,
and and I've actually heard of.
And
they
also had curfew.
Yeah,
like they had to be done by 11 o'clock.
Oh, if it was during the week, you had to be done by is either 10:30 or 11.
Yeah, and on the weekends they might go to midnight, maybe.
Yeah,
but usually shows were done by 11, a little after 11, somewhere around in there. So,
and then you went from there directly either to Perkins down on 21st Avenue, or to Waffle House,
or Actually, it was usually the Crystal that was right there at Bell Road and Murfreesboro Road.
Yep. No, because you couldn't get in there.
I know.
The line
you could not. You couldn't go through the drive-through. You could not get inside.
Yeah,
it was.
But yeah, that's definitely, these are some of the venues, and there's a lot of them that we haven't mentioned on this. We've literally scratched the surface. These are just the ones that are kind of the big heavy hitters for anybody that grew up in the Nashville area or was around in Nashville during the the 80s and 90s period.
Mainly the 90s,
but
everything that we've talked, and even in the early 2000s.
But if you're from the Nashville area and you have other memories of these, hit us up on Discord.
Hit us up on Discord, or
there's a permanent invite over on the Facebook page.
Yes, absolutely.
Or a permanent invite. Like, if you just go to our show notes, there's an invite there.
Or if you're from other areas and you'd like to tell us about some of the venues that you remember from growing up in that period,
absolutely,
we would love to hear that because
hey,
those kind of stories are the ones that are the best. When you can share those experiences like we've done today. Alan has completely gone gushy over so many of these stories. Dave has taken such a stance on them. I have
so many.
I haven't seen this man grin this much in a while. So
I have so many stories.
I know, and these are, and again, these are those touchstones. These are those memories that you can go back and tell you what it sounded like, what it smelled like, what it felt like, how tight the location was, how hot the damn venue was because it was so packed in there, or how vacant it was when there was nobody else in the building.
That Boston show was so packed that when the show was over, the floor was wet like it had rained in the building.
Oh, I'm
from
sure.
all the sweat. It was crazy.
You hope it was sweat.
No, it was mostly sweat.
I remember 328 performance. I don't remember what band it was, but I remember somebody stage diving, and the crowd caught him, and he started. They were kind of surfing him back, and then they just dropped him.
Oh, I've seen that a couple of times.
He
actually
came down head first on that hard concrete.
Yep.
And I was like, we just saw somebody die, didn't we? And it was literally one of those things where everybody kind of spread out. The band's still playing or whatever. Everybody's kind of like, is he okay? Is he okay? And he finally kind of got up and was holding his neck, and went over and, and kind of
by the way,
on the bar for
that
a
is
while.
Not cool.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody stage dives and you always support the head. If you
put them down, I know.
Put them down feet first. If somebody goes down, you help them up. Yeah. Period.
So, two quick stories before we wrap up here, boys, and they're both 328 ones because that was my venue. That's where I remember.
Yep. Go ahead.
The first one was the very first They Might Be Giants show I went to there, and Soul Coughing was the opening.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
band.
Is Chicago Is Not Chicago?
Yeah.
Great song, but we didn't know who the hell Soul Coughing was. We're like, all right, fine, get off the stage. We want to see John and John. By the time this was the John Henry tour, I remember this vividly. The place was so packed in there. We were shoulder to shoulder, crotch to butt. I mean, you could not move in this place. And then all of a sudden, the song "Sleeping in the Flowers" hits, and a conga line starts spiraling into the middle of this crowd and back out. It was the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen in my entire life, and I absolutely loved it. The other story, the show that I was talking about that had all the 5 bands on it, and you had mentioned about distracting a lead singer.
Yes.
This is one of my favorite stories. My friend Paul McKay and I went to that show, and the band Pray for Rain was up. They were performing a song that normally when they would do it, they had a heavy synth on the lead singer's voice to start off. Well, he couldn't do that on stage, so what he did was he took a paper cup and it hollowed it out and was singing into the paper
cup.
Like
a megaphone, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like a megaphone, and it kind of had that vibration sound to it. Well, at the end of it, he thought he was going to be really dramatic, and he just takes the paper cup and tosses it out into the crowd. Well, it hits my friend Paul on the side of the head. And you have to understand something about Paul. He loves to get a rise out of anybody. So immediately when he tosses it off, the lead singer kind of turns his head away, and Paul just starts going, "My eye!" The lead singer stops dead cold and looks at him, and we're just both dying laughing at this point. So, Paul, if you're listening, that one's for you, brother.
Wow.
Yeah.
You said They Might Be Giants, and it reminded me something we didn't talk about. It wasn't really a music venue, but Dancing in the District.
Oh, or Sobro.
Riverfront Park.
Riverfront Park. But the thing I saw, They Might Be Giants play there.
Yep.
I think
I was at this show.
There's so
early
many shows I've seen
Yep.
at Riverfront Park.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I saw Brian
Brian Setzer
Orchestra before they got big.
Yep.
Like whenever they had the big swing revival, like their first album came out, you know, and I saw so many. I saw Emmylou Harris play there.
Oh, yeah. And that's the great thing about those. And if you find those venues, and if you can still find them, because a lot of them are closing down, you know, with COVID and everything. But
it's not even that. It's just they're being bought up and they're turned into condos.
Yeah,
what's happening.
Or stores or something else. You know. But embrace those. Try to support those as best you can, because
or one of my favorites is where there's a venue downtown and these people move in from out of town and then they complain about the live music.
Are you talking about over on Demumbrian?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about winners and losers over there.
Yeah.
Where they built condos right behind them and then they started complaining, and so they shut down live music over there.
They moved to Music City to hear live music, but then
they moved there to be right there in the middle of all the cool, like, everything, but then they got mad because there was music being played.
Well, it's not the most underhanded thing I've heard.
I know.
Nashville's closed. Don't move here.
Go away.
And that even includes some of the music artists.
Yeah.
Somebody that decided, and I won't say the name because I think you both know who it is, but the guy who decides that, there's a very famous place in Nashville called Love Circle. It's the highest point in Nashville. It has a great view of downtown. Right. And a certain music artist who will remain nameless decided that he liked that view, and he decided he didn't want anyone else to have that view. So he built his house up there and decided to build it about 4 stories tall, so it blocks part of the view.
Yep.
No, I'll call it just John Rich.
Oh, I can't bring myself to say the name. So.
No, I'll say it.
We all have John Rich stories, okay? And we will not go into that right now. So
But yeah, again, thank you guys for giving me the chance to go over this with you.
Thanks for coming in and taking the reins on this.
Well, this is something I know is going to be near and dear to both of you. So I figured this would be a lot of fun, and I am really excited to see what our listeners have to say on this. If there's any, like I said, any venues that you know of in the area or in your area. Come on,
this
Discord.
Guy doing the professional thing.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, I just want to say this about Nashville.
Oh, Lord. Here we go.
There is something very famous that has been a phrase that's been associated with Nashville for decades.
Eat more rhinestones?
No.
Oh.
Y'all come back now, you hear? Y'all come back now, you hear? We say that because we want you to leave and then maybe come back in 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, it's kind of like bless your heart.
But I want, for those of us who are some long-time Nashvillians or native Nashvillians, to start using that phrase more often and explaining it. No, that means go away.
There's a coffee shop, a very famous coffee shop that was known for the nun bun.
Yeah, Bongo Java. Because I used to buy those stickers and put them on my car.
Used to have bumper stickers.
Welcome to Nashville.
Now y'all go home.
Exactly. So, guys, thank you so much. I am Alan Smith.
I'm the other guy, Big Dave.
And I'm Barry.
And we will see you next time.
See ya.